Hi, it's Chris Watkin here from Agents Together Charity, the estate agency charity that helps estate agents with healthy mind and healthy business. And I'm with Ben Brain, who is the boss man of the 8 agency network Hannells in Derbyshire. Thanks for joining me today, Ben. The question I'd like to ask you is, what are the qualities of high performance business owners that hold them back, and how do you deal with them? Which does sound a bit of a paradox.
It does, doesn't it? Because you think high performance people, well, surely there aren't any qualities that hold them back. But let me see if I can change that perception for you. So I think that the first thing, and something that we've referenced in previous emails, is that as a business creator, as an estate agency owner, you're a visionary. You have all these ideas that you want to implement. You want to change the way estate agency is done. Now, the problem with that is you have the paradox of choice. You have so many ideas, you can't get started because, first of all, you don't know which one's the most important, or you might start on 6 at the same time and none of them get done. So it's about being able to work out what's the most important thing to the business and have a single-minded focus on the few, not the many, get that done and then move on to the next. So the next quality or attribute that I often see that's helped people to get to the position that they are now is the old perfectionism. And
especially letting agents.
Yeah, okay. So that's something that you see regularly with the agents that you work with.
Very much so.
And it's a quality that might have got people to the position that they're at now. When you look back, the work that they've done might be extraordinary.
Let's be honest, you wouldn't want to let a value or a lister on Resi Sales anywhere near your lettings book, would you?
No comment. No comment on that one, Chris. But being a perfectionist is procrastination. It stops tasks from getting done. It forces you to try and control everything because you don't feel like you've got the trust in the rest of the team. But being good enough and getting it done always beats perfection, because there's no such thing as perfection.
The opposite of mediocre isn't perfection, it's excellence, and I think excellence is where people aim for. One thing that I've noticed with this, especially estate agency bosses, is that they crave to be in control of the situation. They're very good with macro, but not very good with micro, and their absolute fear is being taken advantage of by others.
And I think, again, that's one of the qualities that's got them to the position that they're at now. Most managers and business owners, a lot of them you would describe as control freaks. But again, there's a book by a guy called Malcolm Gladwell, which is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. To get to the next level, you're now going to have to change the way you are. You're going to have to adopt new characteristics and attributes. Otherwise, you're going to stay at that level and hold yourself back.
But how do people do that? How do agents do that?
For me, it's having somebody who can help point those things out to you. It's having a self-awareness, as you've talked about in previous videos, and having the want to better yourself. Because one of the things that we'll talk about in another video is that it sounds counterintuitive, but to be more successful, what I found is that you don't chase success. You chase becoming the person that you need to be to attract that success. And then it happens. For example, earning £1 million, the win for me there, and this isn't something that I'm saying that I've achieved, but the win in that situation is not the fact that you've earned £1 million. It's the fact that you've become a person that can earn £1 million. So you can go on to do it again and again and progress to the next level.
Any other tips?
Yes, absolutely. So I think something that holds estate agents back, particularly in the fledgling parts of building a business, is the fact that most of us, or I'd say probably a large percentage of estate agency owners, they've been very good at what they do in a previous estate agency, and they felt that I could do it better, and they've gone on to start a business for themselves.
A good valuer doesn't necessarily make a great entrepreneur. It's
Exactly.
a bit like my missus is an awesome cook, but could she run a restaurant?
Yes.
Two different types of skills.
Absolutely.
Is this the reason why some valuers don't make awful branch managers?
Well, I think selling and being able to manage people, for me, the most important and the part of the job that warrants the most time and development in managing is being a good people manager. It's not about hitting targets, because if you manage the people well, you develop them and they'll hit the targets as a side product. Whereas valuers don't necessarily have to deal with that unless you have a valuer manager, which we don't think works. We prefer our managers to be in the branch, having an overview of what's happening on a daily basis. But again, it's that old E-Myth paradox of where you start a business because you're good at what you do, but then it just becomes a job again, and you're doing exactly the same thing you were doing before. But now you've started a business, you've got to learn finances, you've got to learn HR, you've got to learn recruitment, you've got to learn marketing, and people don't often think about these things. So instead of, again, working out what's the breaking point here where I'm going to bring somebody else into the business who can do this thing that I'm good at, but I'm going to have a checklist, training procedures, systems and processes so they can do it almost as effectively as me. Nobody's ever going to be as effective as you as your own business, is where it matters.
Interesting, because everyone, especially again letting agents, but again some estate agents, don't like to delegate because no one can ever do the job as good as you. How do they let go of that one?
It's a tricky one, but it just takes some work, and it takes that realization that done is better than perfect. And by having other people doing tasks that you shouldn't really be doing, you get to focus on what's important. Through many years of not getting where I wanted to be and taking the chance to step back. And I have a coach myself, as you've got a coach, Chris, who helps me see these blind spots and helps me work through them. And it's just having that growth mindset, not just as your team, but as you as one of the leaders of the business.
And what would you say to someone that can't afford a coach?
That's a great question, Chris. And I think, as with anything in life, if it's something that you really want, you will find a way to find the funds to pay for it. So if you feel that a coach, and it's something that, obviously maybe I've got a slightly biased view, but it's certainly helped me to get to where I am. I've had numerous coaches who have made a massive difference to my life and my own progression. You will find a way to pay for it. So if you're in a business, is it something that the business might be willing to pay for? If you're paying for it as an individual, well, you might have to, pick up a part-time job or something. But if it's going to really make a huge difference to your career, which a good coach will, then it's worth that investment time.
Isn't it funny that, you go abroad and in America and Australia, coaches are seen, but if you actually go to the UK, I can count on probably two fingers what's estate agency coaches. There's not many, we don't tend to coach.
Yeah, I think it's one of those concepts that's yet to really bed in the UK. But if you look at any of the top entrepreneurs, Richard Branson, for example, he'll have a business coach, a health coach, a wealth coach. For every area of his life, he has somebody who's helping to hold him to account, who is helping to see his blind spots. This coach isn't better than Richard Branson at what he does, but he knows to ask the right questions to elicit the right responses.
And that's the magic thing, boys and girls. You need someone to ask you the difficult questions, not give you the answers.
Yes. And not be afraid to tell you the truth, which again, as we've talked about in a previous video, having people in the business, having conversations with partners, business partners, you may not always get the truth. You want somebody who's totally separate from that situation, that's prepared to give you the nice truth, so they can tell you what you need to hear or tell you what you should hear instead of what you want to hear, and not have qualms about that.
Are there any other tips?
Yes. So for me, something that I see holding people back, particularly with estate agency owners, is that they tend to be problem solvers. So what that can often mean is they wait for things to become a problem before they start to solve them. So for example, dealing with tax issues, you get your notices from HMRC and then all of a sudden it's last minute and now you've got to drop everything and sort them out. Well, that's a subconscious decision to do that because you like solving problems. So quite often we can create problems for ourselves, whereas if we'd addressed them earlier when they weren't problems, then it wouldn't, it would have had a lot less impact. Another one is being really focused on the future. So again, when we go back to this visionary, people have grand visions of what they want the business to look like in 5, 10, 15 years time, and they're really focused on that. But because they're so busy looking into the future, you miss the problems that are constantly occurring in the business now. So again, it's about stepping back and slowing down and fixing what needs to be fixed now, whilst also keeping an eye on the future. And I think something that we've alluded to already with the coaching is that people who are already successful, or other people would deem successful, they feel like they don't need help. But often that can be what gets them to the next level, because you can have somebody pointing out your blind spots. You have somebody that comes into the business with fresh ideas. And again, I think we've mentioned the quote in a previous video, is if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go further, which long term is the best solution for everybody, go together.
Boys and girls out there in estate agency land, if you've not already signed up, then Benjamin Brain could be your guide and mentor, and along with over 100 other people in the industry to guide and support you. And at the end of the day, even if you're a neg, manager, boss man of a boss lady of an estate agency, take up the Agents Together free mentoring and coaching to give you guidance and support going forward. Go to our agents website, agentstogether.co.uk. Thanks for your time today, Ben.
It's been an honour. Thank you, Chris.